Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Yak Gadget. For all your kayak fishing accessory needs, go to yakgadget.com. Pelican cases, coolers, and lighting. Go to pelican.com. The 153 Bait Company. For all your hard and soft bait needs, go to the153anglers.com. Now let's get this show started.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Bass Thumbs Fishing Podcast, where we are constantly trying to keep our thumbs ripped up. Welcome to our second EP for 2022. We had a great show last week with Mr. Matty Wong. And if you guys did not get a chance to listen to that episode, please go do so. Matty is an incredible person, incredible angler, and his story is highly motivating, and he's definitely on that dream come true route to the Elite Series right now. And it's just really cool to be a part, or to watch him, and a really cool representative of the West Coast going out and fishing the Elite Series this year. So if you guys missed that episode, make sure you guys go check that out. We got a great episode for you guys lined up today. We got Mr. Micheal Lavoie from NorCal, and Mike, being from California, he won the biggest kayak tournament like weekend, basically, with I think 3 different events going on, and he basically almost did like a clean sweep of taking first in all 3 of them, and he ended up winning around $17,000 out of a little plastic boat that weekend. And this happened in August, at the end of August in 2021. And it was funny because when I was telling Mike, I was like, man, I can't believe we didn't have you on right after that. It was my apologies. But dude, it's going to be awesome to hear his story on how he went up to Clear Lake and won $17,000. But just to kind of catch you guys up on a couple things before we bring Mike in. Like I said last week, got my kayak in the shop at Kayak Fish Supply. Going to be running the P127 by Bonafide this year. Carrie is doing a phenomenal job with that boat. We're going to have 2 graphs on it this year: Active Target, XI3, Dakota Lithiums. It's going to be pretty awesome. I can't wait to get that thing out on the water. Can't wait to show it to you guys. One thing too that I forgot to mention last week, but the Wild West Bass Trail Kayak Series, along with the California Bass Nation Series, they're kicking their series off this coming in February. If you guys haven't seen the info on that, you guys need to go check it out. They're going to be going up to Shasta to do their season opener. It's just, there's a lot of stuff happening in California, so I'm going to probably be pretty busy this year, interviewing all the winners of all these major series going on in California. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Mike into the show. What's up, Mike? Welcome.
What's going on, Shane? How are you, buddy?
Fishing Podcast, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
One thing that I forgot to ask Matty last week, and maybe it's just a little rusty from the time when I took it off, but so how often do you keep your thumbs ripped up, bro? Like is that something that your thumbs are always ripped up, or do they get smooth sometimes throughout this year, this part of the year, or what's up with that?
Yeah, I think that my thumbs are getting a little smooth lately. I got to get out. I've been kind of doing a lot of work lately, and working on some bait stuff, and then there's always kids. They're right now they're 8 and 11, so they're in the sports phases. So I do a little bit of coaching football. So my son's into that, and then my daughter's getting into soccer. So putting a lot of time in that too. But I definitely need to go get some R&R in the water soon. Probably freak out.
Kind of typical winter time. I mean, we can fish. Luckily in California, we can fish pretty much 12 months out of the year. But yeah, I mean, it's always nice to, not always nice, I guess, but sometimes it's nice to take a little break, smooth the thumbs up a little bit, so you're not bleeding all the time like we are in the summer. But anyways, man, it's good to have you on the show. Maybe just talk a little bit about yourself. You already kind of talked about how you're a father and stuff. How old are you? And also, one thing that I like to start everyone off with, especially the kayak anglers, is what kind of kayak do you fish out of, and maybe how long have you been fishing in the kayak scene for?
I fish out of a PA 14 camo. I've been kayak fishing for over 10 years now. I was a salt guy for a lot of years, just dedicated salt guy. I loved it. At that time, we actually had a lot of saltwater tournaments, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed them. And then they kind of disappeared a little bit, and I think they're going to come back. I think 22 and 23, I think we're going to have those back again. So I'm looking forward to that. What else did you want to know?
How old are you?
Oh, I'm going to be 49 in February.
Sweet.
Yeah.
What do you do for a living?
So I've been a marketing and art director for like 20 years. I kind of stepped back a little bit, but I have all my clientele, my big clients. So I still do work with them. It's kind of nice. It allows me to obviously enjoy the family thing, but also work at the same time. And I'm slowly transitioning more into the fishing lifestyle. I really like that. Started a company like 5 years ago called Branson Baits, and that was all salt. Now we're getting into the freshwater stuff, so that's been growing like double digits every year. So I'm looking forward to the future of that.
And Branson Baits, we could talk about that for a second. Is it mostly swim baits, or do you have a variety of different soft plastics? Because I see the swim baits a lot.
Yeah, it's we started with swim baits, and then we kind of moved into different baits. We've got scampies, and we've got a bait called a sleal and a slug, and it's a unique bait because you can get it down to the bottom really, really fast because there's no appendages on it, and we have a tourney style which has like a screen mesh that's built into the bait. So if you can imagine, when you put your hook up through it, it goes up through that mesh, and that bait is just basically kind of locked on. And it's got a rattle, and it's got a scent chamber in it. So you can rocket that thing to the bottom, and the scent and the rattle, and it does the job, calls them in.
Wow.
And that's really kind of like that's really kind of the bait that kind of defines our the company itself.
And are you on Instagram or Facebook with that bait company, or how can
Yeah.
people find it?
Yeah, not Instagram so much, but Facebook definitely. Yeah, and we've got some YouTube stuff out there.
Nice. And that's just Branson Baits, right?
BransonBaits.com. Yeah.
All
Thanks
right,
for the
well,
plug,
guys,
man.
yeah, no problem. It's part of your show. Really, this is your show.
Thanks.
So now let's dive into the elephant in the room, I guess. I mean, I kind of introed you a little bit on what happened last August, but to win like $17,000 out of a kayak just seems absurd.
Yeah.
And I know that, especially in California, for our kind of local, higher end series that we have running out here, I mean, that's a pretty huge epic payout. I know my buddy Alex kind of came close to that too, with like 15,000 when he won the Bass Nation event at Clear
Right.
Lake. Clear Lake is just where we all go to catch a lot of fish and win a lot of money.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the fish are there. I mean, it's an incredible.
So
fish.
let's just dive right into that. I mean, that's why I wanted you to be on the show. Let's just dive right into the West Coast Championship. I know that James Snyder, this was the first official West Coast Championship, right? Last year.
Right. Yeah.
And basically, for those of you guys listening, if you don't know what the West Coast Championship is, it's basically like an accumulation of a bunch of different clubs that kind of rallied together and said, like, yeah, let's just try to create something out here on the West Coast for our anglers to qualify for, and then fish a big event at Clear Lake in that latter part of August. And there's tons of clubs from Arizona to Colorado to Nevada, SoCal, Central Cal, NorCal, just all over this place.
Utah.
Over here on the west side, Utah.
Yeah.
And I know
Those
the
Utah
AVA
guys they're no joke.
Yeah, I mean,
They're
the AVA
legit.
was in it last year too, so that was cool that we were able to qualify for it. And it's just a cool thing that James Schneider has done for the anglers out here starting last year. So, and Mr. Micheal Lavoie, he took home first place. So let's just go ahead and maybe talk about like your practice maybe a little bit, and then just
Sure.
kind of dive right into it.
Went into practice kind of. I've been fishing the south end a little bit more over the last few years, and the last few tournaments I didn't do well on Clear Lake, and it just didn't work out. It just wasn't producing. Like, it'd be strange. I'd go out there on just go fun fish, and I'd catch a bunch of giants and be like, oh wow, this is it, and then show up and they weren't there. I don't know why. And with the heat and the algae, I went out there and it was just gross. I mean, there was like clumps of algae that stink. They're floating by me like islands of it, and I was like, you know what, I can't fish this. So I decided to go back to my roots and go back to the places that I fished before, years before, when Yakka bass would go there, and I've done well. I mean, I was in second on the first day of one event, and I was always like the second day. I couldn't do it. I don't know why. Actually, I just growing as an angler, you kind of learn how to become better on the second day. And so I went back to those places and I fished around, and I went to one spot and there were fish. I was throwing a swim bait and a glide, and I could see them. And a couple took my bait, and I was like, okay, this is great. So I took all the hooks off my baits, and I started throwing no hook baits and just seeing what would hit it and what would. And you can kind of tell, when they hit in a swim bait, it's like you feel them pull on it. You're like, okay, that's a good fish. And so I did that, and they were there. So I was like, but how many times have we been out and they were there one day and they weren't the next? So I didn't have,
Almost
I didn't,
every time.
right. I didn't put all the eggs in one basket. I went to a couple other spots, found a few fish there. So I felt good. I felt good going into it. I slept well that night. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so is your MO when you're practicing, like, do you always take the hooks off? Because I know that's kind of like I don't know, kind of like, I guess every angler has a different kind of angle at that. But like for me, I don't know what it is, but maybe it's just my own thing. But like, I don't try to catch too many fish, especially on one spot. But I definitely catch fish in practice. But I mean, it's just kind of like what I do personally. But
Yeah.
is that something that you do every time, or was that just because you were seeing bigger fish, or you just tried
Yeah.
it? Like, what was
That's
your
exactly
thought?
it. The couple fish I caught when I had hooks on were big. They were over 20 inches. And I'm thinking, I could really use these. And like, they're not going to bite. I caught them. They're not going to bite on the day. So I'm like, I'm going to take the hooks off, and I'm just going
Yeah.
to, and I've done it prior, but only recently in the last couple of years I've been doing it more. And so I just took them off, and if they took the frog, then I just let them eat it. I let them have it, and then kind of like try to twitch it out, and then they would let it go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't trying to damage these fish at all. I was trying to keep them right where they were, hungry and ready to go.
Well, apparently that worked. But when
Yeah.
you were throwing a glide bait, and just
Yeah.
something that I'm going to ask you because I have curiosity, with a lake that has a bunch of algae, and I remember it's the lake level was dropping a lot. I mean, there was kind of concerns on whether or not they were going to have the tournament because of how low the place was.
Right.
And so with it being dirty and everything, like what made you pick up a glide bait? Just kind of interesting.
I wanted a big bait that I could, one, they would follow it in or possibly hit it, and something with, and then with no hooks on it, that thing just slides through everything. You know what I mean? It just kind
Yeah,
of,
it seemed like a good search bait. Like you could see
it's a
what's
great
following
search
it.
bait. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And it stays at the top, so I could see them come up even in that dirty water. It's only like 3 or 4 inches down, so I could see them come up, and I could see the swirl, I could see the shadow of them. So it was the perfect search bait for me.
Okay.
And then throwing the swim bait, and then the frog too. So it was all kind of, trying to stay within the first 5 inches of the water, or on the surface, so I could at least see what was out there.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. I've never kind of thought about that before. So with your practice being like that good and you slept great, so now it's day one of the tournament.
Yeah.
Walk us through it, man. Step by step. Let's hear it.
So first place I stopped at was kind of a local hole, and it's got like a really steep ridge real close to the bank, and a lot of people don't really know that ridge is there, and it drops off significantly. And what happens is, if you have any wind coming out of the west, they kind of line up because the current kind of flows around it and then kind of comes into a little pocket. So I basically just came into shore and lined myself up along that ridge and just started casting baits along it. And first cast hit the water. I took one crank, boom, first fish was on. I had my limit in by like 7:30, I think.
Wow.
And the biggest fish was like 18 or 19 inches, I think. And they were okay. They were decent, 16, 17s, 18. So I felt good. I was like, oh, at least I got the limit, which was a lot better than the last tournaments that I went there. So I struggled on those, and so I was feeling okay. I was like, okay, let's move on. Let's go get those biggies. Moved to my next spot. Started with the glide. Nothing right off, and then I switched to a frog, and basically I was landing it on the shore and then reeling it in, stopping, and then reeling it, pop it, pop, 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 and they would just smoke it. And they were in like 6 inches of water. And
hollow body frog or like
yeah, hollow body frog.
Yeah.
And it was on. It was like I just moved down the bank, just casting in this one air. And again, it was wind. It was a wind blown type situation, and they were pushing themselves right up shallow and picking up whatever was coming off of that current. And so I just moved down the bank and I was catching fish, and then kind of went back through with a chatterbait. I caught some more with chatterbait, and then I flossed it up with a jig. And
sounds like Clear Lake, just any way that you want to,
right,
any way that you kind of want to get them.
and I'm glad you mentioned that, because normally in the other tournaments I play around with other baits, and this one I didn't. I just kind of stuck. I mean, the glide I was still kind of new, but I had a lot of practice in it before. But the chatterbait's kind of like my MO, and I throw that everywhere, and I felt really comfortable using it, and I just kind of stuck to my roots, and it paid off.
So are you do you have a motor on your kayak? Like, do you have a torpedo or a motor guide?
Yeah, I've got a motor guide.
You got a motor guide. Do you stand up and fish most of the day, or do you sit?
I do.
You do?
Yeah, I'm standing up fishing most of the day. And again, when I was in pre-fish, standing up allows you to kind of see that, look down on the bait a little bit. So I help out.
Yeah, and just like with the leverage on the frog and the chatterbait, standing up is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I was setting the hook pretty hard, so I was, and I was cranking them hard. I was fishing 65-pound braid, and just
on your frog or your chatterbait?
Both.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So straight 65 on your chatterbait.
Straight 65, yeah. And just as soon as they hit, I whale into them and just reel as hard as I could, and get them to the net or just plop them right into the boat.
So let's talk about the chatterbait just a little bit, because it's something that I really like to fish too. Are you a jackhammer guy or a thunder cricket guy, or what are you?
No, that jackhammer, that's too expensive, man. I can't afford that. No, honestly, there's a guy named Bobby D, and you've heard of him. He's been making. This guy's been making baits for pros forever and ever, and he makes the heads, and then you just kind of like attach your blade to it yourself, and he just puts together some of the best color combinations, and the way he sets up, the way the head's set up and everything, I can reel that thing in so slow, and it just keeps chugging. I mean, I just slowly, and the thing is just like chug, 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 and just dragging the bottom, boom, boom on the bottom, and they can't handle it. They'd eat it.
So as far as your trailer goes, are you like a shad pattern guy? Are you like a creature bait like guy? Actually, or what kind of?
I'm a
Branson Baits guy.
No, it's
oh, there you go. Rage Craw.
Rage Craw.
Nice.
Yeah, that Rage Craw is great. It's pretty tough. It survives. And
I've even seen guys do it. I've even seen guys put it on there vertically.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So instead of making it like go like that, it goes like that.
Do they trim one? Because I've seen guys trim one off, so it just has one.
Oh, wow.
Flap around.
I've never
seen the two.
That sounds good too.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of my buddies, like even like a Rage Menace, like they'll throw it up there vertical instead of like horizontal, I guess. and it just
Okay.
gives like this kind of kick compared to like that.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I I keep it pretty simple with my trailer. I just throw a Zaco every single time. I don't know. I mean, that's just something that's always worked for me is the Zaco.
Nice.
Yeah,
For me, I like a compact chatterbait. Like if
yeah,
you look at the chatterbait I got here, it's pretty. Look how short it is.
yeah, yeah,
See how compact it is.
yeah.
Um, I feel like one when they eat it, they know what they're eating. They're just and it's kind of it's a smaller profile, so I feel like more fish tend to eat it. But then again, whatever. I could just be imagining it.
Hey man, no,
Catching fish.
it's all confidence, and
It is, right?
obviously that worked
Absolutely.
pretty well for you out there. So on day one, you were sitting in I think third place.
I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a
Maybe
while.
I'll go back and look. Let's just see. So on day one, you were sitting in. Let's see, it's pulling up.
I think it was
Yeah,
third.
you were in third place with 97.5, and
Right.
then Gene Quillen from Arizona was sitting with 98.25, and then Trenton Hoover had
Right.
98.5.
Yeah. Such great numbers, right?
Okay, hold on. You just kind of like blew by this. Anyone that fishes Clear Lake, first off, if you've never fished it before, it has a surplus of, let's just say, 17 to like 18 inches, like
Yeah.
a surplus amount. Like breaking that 20-inch fish at Clear Lake is a really big deal, and like they're fat. For some reason those northern strands are just they're fat, and they're a little bit on the shorter side.
Yeah.
But my buddy Mike over here caught a 23.5-inch fish on day one at Clear Lake. So let's talk about that fish. Let's talk about that fish in particular, because a 23.5-inch fish is a giant at
Yeah.
Clear Lake.
It was so much fun. Um, I think I got her on the jig.
Wow.
And it was, my third pass through, and she was kind of again super, super shallow. And I toss that, and I'm using just a small jig. It's tiny. And I threw that up there,
Seems
and
to be your MO. You like those smaller baits a little bit.
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Black and blue. I threw it up there, and one twitch, I think, and she bit. And then I remember setting the hook, and it was like into a log. It was just. But the thing is, she was probably only like 15 feet away. So I set the hook, and she came up, and I was just like, oh, here we go. And I just cranked and brought her. And luckily my my net was like really close, and I just scooped it underneath her. She jumped up and boom, landed. And just like always, bait falls out in the net,
Oh
right?
my gosh, yeah.
Plopped her down, squeezed her between my legs, and just took a couple big breaths, and did the high
Did you
five and the
did you get a weight on her?
no, I didn't. She was
Oh,
probably I'd say close to 9,
yeah.
right around probably nine,
Yeah,
eight and a
if
half
it's Clear
pounds.
Lake, it's close to 9 for sure.
Yeah.
Dang, dude, that's
But she
so
was
sick.
so fat, just fat.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
jig wise, are you on the Tasmua jig train, or what kind of
I
jigs do you throw?
love Taz's jigs. No, I'm not on a Tasmania jig train. I actually, believe it or not, I throw those Bass Pro Shop little tungsten jigs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're like
Tungsten jigs, like
they have a tungsten jig. Yeah,
not the Kitech jigs?
yeah. That it's
Oh,
like it's a Bass Pro Shops series jig, and
huh.
it's tungsten, and it's I think it's
And
like
it catches
$3.
23 and a half inch fish.
It's like $3, 3.50, something like that.
Yeah. No, I just know, like, I mean, for myself, especially after Alex, I feel like when Alex posted that he won that Bass Nation event on Taz's jigs, it kind of opened a lot of people's eyes. And then I don't know, I just started pushing it, and like I love Taz. I think he's a great dude, and
Yeah,
he works his butt off making those things. And I've caught a lot of fish on his jigs too. But I mean, all of us, obviously, like, dude, there's tons of jigs out there. It's a flooded market, but whatever you
yeah.
have confidence in, that's what you should be throwing for sure. So
I definitely do. Like I have a bunch of Taz's jigs. I actually got some for all my guys when we did the Yakabass team tournament. I purchased a bunch for all my
yeah,
guys on my team. But yeah, he makes some great jigs. But like you said, everybody makes jigs. The difference
Yeah.
with Taz's jigs, though, that guy has an eye for pattern.
Oh
Like
yeah.
his patterns are ridiculous. They are
Yeah.
so good, and that's
I
one of the
I
reasons
just
why I buy
love
them.
like I mean I know you could do this kind of probably with anyone that kind of makes jigs, but like he's such a cool dude and like he's super relatable. Like he's a part of our he's a part of our kayak crew. Like he's a part
Yeah,
of the California kayak scene. So like it's just cool to text and be like, yo, what do you think about this pattern? Like, you know, and then he just like puts it together and then it's just like it's pretty simple and he
yeah.
just mails it to you and he's got a good turnaround and just a
Hmm.
good dude for sure.
He was in the house at Clear Lake. He was in our house.
Oh, okay.
We had some killer anglers at the house. We had Taz, we had Damien, we had John Meyer,
Yeah,
we had Gino. We had like a bunch of sticks at the house. Our conversations were pretty cool about fishing. Like there
that's
was a
awesome.
lot of knowledge around that round table.
That is awesome. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just like such a fun like experience when you get, that many guys in the house and that much knowledge in the house and you guys are just all bouncing off each other and stuff. It's pretty sweet. I mean,
Yeah.
when I went to Texas and I was able to stay with Fluke Master and like Blanchard and Jason Brofka, it was like, kind of the same thing. It just like I just sat there and just kind of listened to those guys.
Right. There's so much.
especially
There's so much to
especially
pick up.
Jason Borofka, dude. Like I just keep talking, bro. Like,
That dude, everything that dude gets into, he tends to win or top three or whatever.
yeah. And
Yeah.
he's fishing the opens this year, and
Is
he's
he?
fishing all 9 of them, and he's getting his brand new Vexus, and everything's kind of starting to happen for him, and it's gonna be pretty sick. So I'm stoked
Beautiful.
to see what he does this year. But anyways, okay, so we kind of went on a tangent there, but that's the cool thing about,
Yeah.
especially when I'm running the podcast, it's just we're gonna go on tangents, and that's
Right.
what happens. But so kind of hauling it back in. So you caught 23 and a half. I mean, after day one, you just got to be feeling just like, even though you're in third place, it doesn't even matter. Like it's so close. I think you were within like an inch and a half at first. So going into day two, what was your mindset like that night? And
Um,
what were the guys in the house telling you? Because I didn't see those guys at the top of the leaderboard.
no, but they were hovering. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it's
let me
Clear
see.
Lake.
I'm gonna
Like
go look.
you can land on, excuse me, you can land on some big ones, and you know what I
Yeah.
mean, and catch up. You know,
Taz had 93.
yeah. So they
John
weren't out
Myers
of
had
it. They were,
90. Yeah.
yeah.
This is okay. Hold on, really quick. Really quick. This is the thing about Clear Lake, okay? So you I just saw John Myers had 90 inches. He's in 20th place. Like that
Right.
that right there is Clear Lake for you guys, like for you guys out there. Like 90 inches. And I feel like a couple years ago, like if you had like 94 inches at Clear Lake, like you were leading. And now it's
Yeah.
like you're probably in the top 20. It's weird how like seems like the fishing's changed a little bit because like I remember a couple years ago, like if you had like 95, especially like you were leading, you know?
Right.
And now we're seeing more and more like 95 plus and like 100 plus 100-inch bags at Clear Lake. It's
100
crazy.
inch bag. That's just, yeah. There was a few guys that had a couple 100 inch bags.
Yeah. Okay, so sorry about that. So going into day 2, your mindset.
Um, like, we all discussed at the house. I felt good, you know what I mean? Going in. I felt confident because the other places that I had that I found fish at, I didn't floss them. I kind of went through it real quick and maybe picked up one fish here and there, but I knew there was still fish there. I knew I had one more day's worth of fish, but I didn't know if I had a third day's worth of fish. That was my real concern in my head the whole time was, do I have enough for the third day?
So the West Coast Championship was 3 days.
Well, no, it was 2 days, but
It was
you
2
remember
days.
we had the Chris Lard, so it was kind of like I was fishing the Chris Lard, and when we had the West Coast, so they overlapped by one day, so it was really 3 days
Okay.
of tournaments.
Yeah, so the day 1 of West Coast I think was Friday, right?
Yes.
And then day 2 of West Coast and final day was Saturday.
Yep, and then Chris Lard Saturday and Sunday.
Chris Lard is the Yakabass
Yeah.
tournament that is put on every single year,
Right.
right? Yeah. And then there was 3 KBF trails as well,
Right.
which we talked about before the show that you
Yeah.
didn't get into all 3, unfortunately. You got into the first day
Yeah. Yeah. I
and
got
you
into the
took
first day. Yeah.
what place in KBF?
second, or I think I have one of those checks around there somewhere. Second or third, I think second.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So going into day 2, I'm gonna stop talking.
It's so good. Day 2, I didn't go to that little spot that I fished on day 1, that ledge, because I knew what would happen if I stayed there. And plus, I seen a couple guys that were kind of hanging around where I was at, and they kind of saw me fishing there. And one guy actually kind of came in and caught a 20, and he was like, "Wow, holy cow, I caught a 20!" And then he just kind of kept going. He didn't finish up the area, so I was like, "Okay, cool, keep going."
You're like, you released that, right?
Right. So I was like, okay. So I moved right to the spot that the second place I started on day 1, if that makes sense. I caught a couple fish there. I could tell it was depleted, and I went right into my second spot, and it was on. But the thing is, it changed a little bit. It was a little cooler that day, if I remember right. And I had a couple. I had a couple topwater fish, but it really wasn't like the first day. There was no glide bite, and I went straight into my chatterbait and just started like flossing. Like when I fish my chatterbait, I fish it like a jig. So I'm literally pitching my chatterbait in, and then I will slowly reel it until I hit something, and then I'll bust it through, and then I'll let it drop. And then I'll start it back up until I hit something and bust it through, and then let it stop. And look at me, I'm telling all my secrets. And then and then I was doing that, and they were on. It was on. I was catching them. And then I got the back to back. It was like a 21.75 and then a 22.5, like back to back.
Wow.
And that finished off my limit. And when that happened, I was just, I don't know, I can't describe it. I was like, just beside myself, like, what is going on here? This is like,
are you the guy that submits their fish right away and like sees where you're at?
I didn't.
Okay.
I don't know. And I don't do it so I can, sandbag like Damien.
Yeah.
But
you said you don't do it like Damien?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you said I sandbag like Damien. I was
No.
like, okay.
I'm like, that's time out of your fishing. That takes like 5-6 minutes. So I'll just take my picture and I'll just keep fishing. You add that up. You add 5, 6, 7, 10 fish.
No, totally. Especially when you're on them.
Time.
Yeah, especially I do the same thing. Like if I'm on them, like I just take the picture and keep fishing. But like if I'm moving spots and I have some, I'll just sit there, and if I'm making a little move, I'll submit. But
I'm usually retying when I'm going to a different spot. I'm usually retying everything.
Yeah.
And I get there and I'm ready to go. But
yeah.
So I felt good. Those fish I had those, and I kept fishing. And then I had one more area I moved to, and luckily the wind was kicking up. So it was kind of like an area that was affected by a little bit of an eddy type of deal, I guess you could describe it. And I caught one more fish there, but I could see more fish, but I knew I had a good bag and time was running out. And I'm like, okay, I'm out of here. And I didn't know how much I had though. I didn't know what my score was until
you're like, I got 3 or 4 20s, but I'm not sure.
Right. But it was a lot. I caught a lot of fish, and I caught a lot. Like I was culling like 19 and a halves, like
that's sick.
19s. Right. So I don't remember exactly, but I was culling fish you normally don't cull. And I was just like, okay, do I feel like I'm wasting these fish? And I'm like, so on my way back, I'm kind of looking at my numbers, and I'm like, wait a second, I didn't add that up, right?
I'm looking at your total right here, but I'll let you keep going.
I'm like, no, let's do that again. So I did it again. I'm like, what? No, really? I'm like, holy hell, okay, I'll take that. So I came in and I was just like, I don't know, I had a bunch of energy inside me and just wanted to like
just tell everyone right now how many inches you caught on day 2. How many inches did you catch on day 2?
I think it's 103
It was 103
on the dot.
Yeah.
103.
103 at Clear Lake.
Yeah. It
So
was
just so you
awesome.
guys know, he had a 22 3/4, a 22 and a half, a 21, a 19.25, and a 17 and a half.
Oh, so yeah. So I guess I didn't call that small. I guess it must have been 16.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You're good. Isn't that sick though? You could have called that 17 1/4 like
Yeah.
easily, if you know what I mean. Like
I missed a couple of them
So
on the jig that would have been in there.
bro,
Probably
the
put me
fact
at
that you
like,
had 103 and you had a
yeah,
17 and a quarter is
yeah,
insane.
yeah.
That's so sick.
It was definitely an experience. I'll remember it for a long time. It was great.
There was 300-inch bags that day.
Yeah.
Diego had 100. Cody Henley had 100.75.
Right.
Okay, so you submit your fish. I'm pretty sure James turns off the leaderboard, right? Like you didn't know, you didn't really know, but you kind of knew where you were.
I kind of knew where I was.
Yeah.
I did, but
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. You know what I mean? I knew that 103 on any, like, even Clear Lake. That's
Oh, yeah.
that's
Especially when
pretty
you had
good.
98 or whatever you had,
Right.
96 the day before.
Yeah, but you always have to think, if I had this kind of day, these guys probably had good days too, because
Yeah.
it was on once it warmed up. It was on.
Yeah. Okay, so you get off the water, you submit all your fish, you submit 103 inches. You see your total, you have 200.5 inches.
Yeah.
And you're heading to the award ceremony. So let's just talk about the award ceremony a little bit. Going there and being there and just lay it out.
So again, it was like that energy inside of me that I just wanted to start doing cartwheels, you know what I mean, freaking out. But I kept it inside, and because my housemates were like, how'd you do? Because I was in third, and I'm like, I caught fish. I got a limit. Let's just put it that way. I got a limit, and they're like, well, what do you think? I'm like, I don't know. We'll just have to see how it goes. And then, they started calling the names, and then they got to first and second, and then they called, I think it was Cody's name. And
Yeah, Cody.
right then and there, I was like just like the butterflies, you know what I mean? Like, oh man, there's no way, this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
And then they called my name, and my housemates were all sitting at the table, and they looked at me like, dude. I'm just like I got up.
By the
I
way,
just
guys, I
started
got
up,
103.
like high-fiving everybody, and ran up there all excited like a little kid.
Nice.
And then James gives me the mic and like, say something. I'm like, hi. Like, I had no fucking idea what to say.
Yeah.
Excuse
yeah.
my language.
No, it's all good. So, okay, so he announced the West Coast Championship, and that was it for that day, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So
but
you
that
won the
was
West Coast
103
Championship.
was my day one of the Chris Lard. So that was pretty good going into Chris Lard.
Yeah, yeah. And unfortunately, you didn't get the KBF, because if you would have gotten both KBFs, then you would have probably cashed around 20,000 or more. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then day three, if I had KBF, I still would have cashed a pretty decent check, I think.
Yeah. Wow, dude. So you won the West Coast Championship. How did it feel? Like, I know you didn't have words in the moment, but now looking back on it, you won the first West Coast Championship. I mean, that's the name of itself is it's the West Coast. It's not just California. I mean, the guy that took second was from Utah, which is
right.
I never even realized that, but that's pretty awesome that a guy from Utah came out to Clear Lake and was able to take second. I mean, I'm sure he just had an absolute blast.
He's coming back. He's coming back next year to come get it.
I'm sure
he is. He is.
Once you come to Clear Lake one time, you're done. And it ruins every other fishery for you.
Yeah, he is so down. That guy, he's a fisherman. He's coming for it. So it's gonna be fun. This year is gonna be fun. If everything lines up, we're gonna have some serious weights lengths coming to the board. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Okay. So how does it feel to be the West Coast champion?
Feels awesome. I mean, I don't know. It's surreal. It's kind of like, I mean, I don't know. I like I said, he gave me the mic and I had no idea what to say. Just like now, I'm like, just there's no words to describe it. It was like, it's obviously it's you work hard, you put in your time on the water, you figure out baits, and then some days just everything just lines up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like when your number is pulled, it's pulled, and
Yeah.
and if you have what it takes to kind of to put your name on the dotted line, you're gonna get it. And I felt like I deserved it. I felt like I put my time in, and I've done well here and there. And then having a year like I did, it was just I had a miserable year. It was so tough. And then for this to happen like this, it was it was like prayers answered kind of deal. So I was humble and just thankful. It was just that's the only way I could describe it. It's hard.
That's awesome, dude. Well, congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
Sorry, like I know that we're in January now, but like like I said, I don't know why we took so long to get this thing recorded, but dude, it's just so sick to see someone like like yourself come out and just like you said, just like putting in the hard work and grinding. You've been in Tourney X since 2017, and you just put in your dues. And like, I mean, just congratulations, bro. That's really sick that you took home that big event up there at Clear Lake.
Thank you.
And I feel like Clear Lake is really like that spot where all of us, kayak guys and girls from California and all the West Coast states, like it's just a spot where we could all come, no matter if you're a local or not. You could show up at Clear Lake and anyone on any given day can catch a sack. Like it's just like one of those spots where like, you're able to just get out there and just really, catch fish. I mean, there's just
Right.
it's called the Bass Factory for a reason. And it's just such a great place to go and experience. And it's just such a fun place to fish, man. I mean,
Right.
it really is.
And like you said earlier, you can fish your strengths.
Yeah.
Like your pattern is there. It's
Yeah.
there. If you can find it, you're gonna win.
Yeah.
You just have to find it, but it's there. And just like the guy over there, his pattern's out there too. It's there.
Yeah.
It's all there. You just have to
Yep.
put it together.
I mean, like when I fished it in 2019 for the Bass Nation kayak series, that when they came out here, I was throwing 6-pound test Nico rig on a 7-inch MM3 out in like 25 feet of water, and I took 5th place. But it just goes to show, like, you have that, and then you have guys punching, and then you have guys throwing a frog, and like literally there's tons of different patterns and ways to catch these fish.
Crankbait bite too.
Oh yeah, it's just sick.
Yeah,
it's
I
the
love
best.
cranking there.
It is no doubt, for all you guys listening that are across the country, it is no doubt the best place to fish in the whole country.
I think it is.
Hands
because
down.
you're right. There's so much. I mean, do we have lily pads? I don't think there is. But if we had lily pads, that would be it. That's it.
But our grass is real grass. It's fun, good grass. Like they set up in the grass like they should at Clear Lake.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome. And I mean, Bassmasters had it, I think in 2019, maybe even 2020, but it's always like top 3, I think. But in 2019, it was number 1 in the country for Bassmasters. So
I don't know what it placed this year. It's in the top 10. It's always in the top 10, but
always up there. Yeah, for sure.
And it's like, you don't even have to I mean, you can just go to the state park and just launch to the state park and go 50 yards and just start fishing and just possible 8, 9, 10 pounder.
And that's the crazy part about it too. It's a lot bigger than people think.
Oh,
yeah. Like you can't just like make a run from State Park to Rattlesnake. Like you gotta get in your car and like go drive like an hour around the lake to get there.
Right.
It's crazy how big it is. But anyways, man, congratulations on that, and I'm really glad that we got to have you on to highlight it. Thanks. And now I think maybe transition. Or no, the one thing I wanted to ask you. So really quick, you ended up taking, I think, 2nd place in the Chris Lard, right?
Yes,
is that what it was?
I believe second. That was an interesting day 3. You want to hear what happened?
Go ahead. Yeah.
This has never happened to me before. This is so strange. So I'm fishing my spot, and the night before I was worried. Obviously, it's like these places are not going to have a day 3 for me. I'm not going to be able to do it. And I show up and I start fishing, and I caught a fish here, caught a fish there, but I could tell the bite was off. Plus, it was definitely beat up. And I'm fishing and I'm fishing, and then all of a sudden I heard this sound, like I'll never forget. It sounded like a rain, like, and it was still kind of dark, right? I hear this sound of rain, and I look down the bank, and I see, like, it looks like it's raining in one spot, and it's coming towards me. And as I get closer and closer, it could be my old man eyes too, but I look and I see all these shad jumping out of the water, and they weren't small. They're like 4 inches, 3.5 inches. They're all jumping out of the water, and then behind them, just explosions. There was a giant ball of shad coming up the shore towards me with all these bass behind it, just smashing them. I was like, oh man, okay. So next thing I know, they're kind of all around me, and I kind of backed up a little bit, and I took my frog and I threw it up towards the front of it, and I started reeling, and I got hit instantly. But I could tell it wasn't a big fish, and I kind of let him have it, and I kind of twitched it, and I twitched it out, and I reeled in real quick, and I threw it, and behind it where the bigger explosions were, boom, like 19, like right away. I was like, oh man. I quickly got him in the boat, measured him real fast, chased the ball up the bank, again, cast in the back, hooked another one, again, same thing, chased it up, hooked another one, and then I lost the bait ball. I was like, wow, that was amazing. That was awesome, right? I've never experienced anything like that. So I come back and I go back to my spot, and my spot is dead. Like dead. Like there's nothing. Like they
all followed the bait.
Even the birds left. Everything. There's like silence. I'm like, that bait ball literally stole all the fish from the area. Just took them and went up the bank. And I'm like, oh man. So I went back up thinking I was gonna go find it again, because there were no fish in my area. I was like, started going up, and I looked, and I could see some of these shad that were hit, and they were kind of like on the surface, and they're kind of twitching out. So I threw my frog right next to one on the bank and started reeling my frog in, and giant, boom, took my frog. And I could tell right away that this fish was just like, the mouth was just, it was ridiculous. It was the biggest fish of the weekend by far. And I was like, I in my head is, I need this fish. And I let him take it a little tiny bit, and I just set the hook, and it just popped right out. Frog flew out of the water. I was like, that's it. That was it. That's my clean sweep right there. It's gone. I know it is. It's gone, just because, like you said, it clearly, like, you just can't miss those fish because someone else is going to get it.
Yeah.
And I think I placed second or third after that, and I caught a couple other fish, but I had to go. I had to leave my spots. They were done. I think I went to another little tiny spot that I fished before that, but I really was junk fishing after that. That was it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. That weekend, I'm so bummed that I wasn't able to make it. I just wasn't able to swing it, but
I'm not.
What? No, but I'm looking at the weekend, and it was just like, there was so many different things going on, and you just had like a dream weekend for sure. Like it couldn't have really, I mean, the only better thing would have been to take first in everything, but I mean, dude, like you took second in that Yak Bass event, and it's just crazy, dude. Like, and there, just so you guys know, there was 101 people in the, or 100 and let me go back. I think there was 101 or 108 in the West Coast Championship, right? Something like that.
There was quite a few.
And then there was 79 in the Yak Bass, and I think there was like another 80 or so in that Lakeport. But
and everyone had to qualify for that West Coast too, like all those different clubs.
Yeah. So I mean, it was just an epic weekend for you, and like, okay. So one thing I wanted to ask you, now that it's kind of wrapping up. So you won $17,000. So what did you use? What'd you get Did you invest it back into fishing,
I
or
bought
did
an
you have
active
to put?
target.
Did you?
I had
Okay.
to spend a little money on myself, so I bought active
Heck yeah.
target. I got a. This is gonna sound ridiculous, but I
No,
got
just
a
spell it
HDS
out, bro.
12
Okay. Yeah.
for my kayak, and so
Heck
those
yeah.
two things. That was pretty much it, and then a couple reels from Daiwa,
There you go.
and that was about it. And
Bro,
the
you won
rest of the money went
17.
to
You won like $17,000.
pay
Like,
bills.
go ahead and, I mean, that's sick to put it back into. I mean, now like when you look at your active target and your graph, it's like, you know, something that you're gonna have for a while, and it's like
Yeah.
a memorabilia too of like your epic weekend for sure. So that's cool.
And some of that money is going to go. So I'm going to go. I'm leaving here to go fish the Kissimmee event,
No
KBF.
way.
Yeah. So I'm leaving
Wow.
for that here in like
Are you driving?
no, I'm flying. So a buddy of mine who lives there, he's going to let me use his kayak, and I'm going to fly in with rods and reels, and I'll send my lithium and everything. I'll mail all that. My parents live in Lake
This is perfect because the
uh,
next thing I was gonna ask you is what your plans are
Haven.
for this year. So
Yeah, so
yeah.
I'm planning to fish a lot of the KBF stuff. I'm going to fish your ABA stuff too. I want to really check that out. I think
Sweet.
that's going to be awesome. I love the off limit times for your event. I think most
Yeah.
places should do that to keep the local yokels off of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
lake, so it makes it a little more fair. But I'm going to fish some Yakabass stuff. I'm also going to go fish the I'm going to fish a BASS at when I go to Kentucky Lake. South of that, I think it's Eufaula. I think that's where one of the BASS. It's
Yeah.
like 2 weeks, so I'm
Yeah.
going to spend some time down there
Wow.
for 2 weeks. So I'm going to use
That's
a little bit of
awesome,
that
dude. So
money
you're
to
going
kind of
for
do
it.
that stuff.
You're going for it a little bit. I
I
like
am.
that.
I am.
Heck
I'm
yeah.
going to go for it a little bit. I mean, because it's like I'm not getting any younger, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well do
No,
what you
but
want to do now.
I feel like James would agree with this too. Like that is the whole thing about like having these West Coast championships and having someone win that much money, because if you most likely the person that maybe wins these events would want to go out and travel and fish like you're going to go do. So that's so
Right.
sick that you're now going to invest that money and go represent us on the, I kind of don't like using the term national because it's not technically, we won't get
Yeah.
into that, but it's not technically national because they don't come over here. But to go out in fish against those guys out there and fish, the bass circuit and the KBF circuit, and that's really cool, dude. So I
Yeah.
mean, that's like my whole MO as like what I try to do in my little light to promote us out here on the West Coast is like shine that light on as many people as we can out here, and then see anyone that's willing to go out and fish these bigger circuits. Because one thing that I'm kind of passionate about too is like, we can complain and say like, man, like these trails don't come out here like all we want, but like we got to go out and fish against them if they're not going to come here. Like, it's
Right. We
just
got
what
to
we
go
got to
get it.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to go get it. So like, dude, I'm stoked that you're going after it, bro. That's
Thanks.
really cool,
Yeah.
and best of luck. And we will definitely circle back
Yeah.
and
I would
talk
love to
about how
see
you do.
more. I'd love to see more anglers out here, like you said, just go out, and because we've got some serious sticks out here that
Yeah,
I
no
think could
doubt.
do well. And just the experience of going to, like, for instance, a KBS national championship, just going there and kind of seeing like how intense these dudes really are.
Oh yeah,
Like
I saw it
here,
at
like you
Gunnersville.
said,
I went to Gunnersville.
right, right.
Yeah, it
It's
was
like
so fun.
it's like we're pretty spoiled here, right? We can fish
Yeah,
for salmon, we can fish for sturgeon, we can fish for whatever. A lot of these places, they fish for bass, and that's
yeah,
it. And they're
yeah.
all in.
Oh
And
yeah,
when they show up with a converted horse trailer with stickers all over it, and just like extra kayak in there with a real cleaning
with a
station, and
bed.
right, you're like in a bed, you're like, holy cow, this is crazy. I mean,
Yep.
not crazy as in, but crazy and wow, this is impressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um, and the people that you meet, I mean, at these big events from other parts of the country, it's just cool. Just get to hang out with them and
yeah.
share stuff. It's great.
Is anyone else going with you from here?
I haven't really for the Kissimmee event, no.
Okay.
I haven't really hit anybody up. It's kind of, since my family lives there, my parents, I got a house on Hatchina, so we're gonna do like a Christmas 2.0 kind of deal. Where grandma and
Sweet.
grandpa and the kids and my aunt and uncle live there, so we're gonna make a family thing out of it. But for the rest of the events, I mean, I'd like to hook up with like one person to go to Kentucky and then go down and fish that BASS type of thing, even 3 people, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, those opportunities, you just got to take advantage of it if you can. And
Yeah, no doubt.
I've got a kind of, my schedule is, I'm able to do that now.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Well, we're kind of approaching that hour mark. So,
Yeah.
again, thanks for coming on the show. Heck of a job. Congratulations. And now that you're
Thank
going
you.
out, I'm even more glad that you were able to come on and kind of talk about that, because I feel like that needs to be noticed too. So best of luck, safe travels. Is there anyone or any brands or anything that you want to thank or give a shout out to?
Yeah, absolutely. Lowrance, they've always supported me. They've always been there. Their product is awesome. Daiwa, again, awesome products. Just I love their reels and their raw. Everything they make is just top notch. P-line, tactical fluoro is my go-to for like chatterbaits. That's really, when I'm not throwing 65, I'm throwing that 12, 14 pound. It is awesome. I love it. I mean, it's got the perfect stretch, allows me to have that rod that I can really set the hook on. I love it. Scotty, again, great products. Branson Baits, obviously my company. We're doing some great stuff. We've got a freshwater swim bait line coming through. I love it. It's been almost 2 years in the making for all this stuff. So we're not the company that's just going to go find a bait online, buy it, make a mold, pour a poly, and then make a few adjustments and shave down and then redo it and call it my own. This was from start to finish, like absolutely testing in the pool over and over and over and over and readjusting over. We probably went through 15 molds maybe for one bait to get it right. So stoked. But yeah, and thanks again, Shane. I appreciate your time, man. And I'll see you on the water soon.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, thanks again, Mike, for being on. Well, that's going to do it for our show, guys. If you guys want to follow Mike or see his brand, go make sure to check out Branson Baits on Facebook. And you got a website too?
Yeah, bransonbaits.com.
Bransonbaits.com. Cool. Yeah. Again, best of luck this year. Safe travels.
Thank you.
For all the listeners out there, make sure you guys check out everything that's going on in California. If you are from California or close to it, there's a lot of different series, ABA, Wild West, Bass Nation, tons of big things going on out here in California this year. If you guys have any questions about any of those events, you guys could be sure to reach out to me on Bass Thumbs Fishing on Instagram, and I'll be able to happily point you guys in the right direction. Anyways, guys, again, thank you for listening, and keep your thumbs ripped.